Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever made an appointment with someone and they didn't show up? You were there waiting for 5, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, just waiting until someone told you, look, they won't come, and then received the message, I'm not going, I'm sorry. Has this ever happened to you? Maybe more common than that. Have you called someone or sent a text message to someone? You know that the person saw the message, saw the missed call, but they didn't call you back? Has that ever happened to you? Or have you knocked at the door of someone? The person looked by the window or by the peephole. They saw you were by the door, but they pretended they were not at home and they didn't open the door for you. It's frustrating, isn't it? It comes to the point of becoming an insult. The indifference, the disdain is total. And for sure, you wouldn't do this to anyone. It's not correct. It's not polite for you to do this to anyone. But what if I told you that not only can you be doing this, and not just time to time, but every day, and not with a stranger, a friend, a colleague, a family member, but with God Himself? Me, Bishop? Am I ignoring God who is knocking at my door? Have I scheduled an appointment with God and I'm not showing up? He's knocking at my door and I open it up? He's calling me and I'm not answering? Yes. Who says this is not me, it's Him. I will only repeat His words. Listen to what He says in Isaiah chapter 50, verse 2. He says like this: Why, when I came, was there no man? In other words, why have I scheduled an appointment and nobody showed up? Why, when I called, was there none to answer? Is my hand shortened at all that it cannot redeem? In other words, have I no use for you anymore? My power has shortened that I cannot help you, save you. Don't you need me anymore? This is his complaint. Or have I no power to deliver? Look at the complaint of God. Normally, we think that when we call God, when we pray, He has to come, He has to appear. If we cried out, if we asked for help, then we expect Him to answer, that He will show up, that He may make Himself present. But we don't think that He also calls us. Yes, we are not the only ones who call God. He also calls us. We are not the only ones who have requests to God. He also has requests for us. And maybe you're not realizing that when He calls, you're not answering Him. When He schedules an appointment, you're not showing up. That's it. If you have ears to hear, as Jesus said, he who has ears, listen. So for sure, you will hear God speaking to you at some moment. God nudging you. Don't do that. Or do that. God telling you, this is not good for you. Let go of that. Leave this practice, this habit. God telling you, go there and ask forgiveness for those who you hurt you. God telling you, this is going to harm you. If you go down that path, you're going to get hurt down the road. Don't go this way. God speaks and you don't answer. God gives the guidance and you despise it. You ignore the counsel from God. God calls you, makes an appointment with you. God makes an appointment. He calls you to pray and you don't. He calls you to church and you don't go. But there's always a good excuse, isn't it? There's always a good excuse for you to not attend because you're going after this or that. Anyway, but just like you make an appointment with someone and that person does not show up and you feel frustrated and that person calls it off in the last minute when you're already there in the place, just like when you feel frustrated when you send a text message to someone, they see the text, they see your missed call, and they don't return. They don't think that it's important or urgent. Just like you would feel insulted if you knocked at the door of someone knowing that they are at home and they don't open for you. God also feels like that when He books an appointment with you, when He knocks at your door. And you don't open, you don't return. You don't return to Him the initiative that He had towards you. It's very cruel, it's very sad how ungrateful human beings are towards God. They want God to appear on their way in the time that they need, but when He calls, they don't show up. It's very sad. And then God feels, as Jesus said in Revelation, "Behold, they stand at the door and knock. If anyone, who knows? If someone hears me, he wouldn't knock at a door that has nobody at home. If anyone hears me, my voice, and opens the door, I will come in to him and dine with him, and he with me." And He knows that there are so many who will not listen or will hear and will not answer the door. This is the greatest problem of humanity today. The total indifference towards God. They remember God when tragedy strikes. Everyone says, "Why did God allow this?" Have you heard this before? When a tragedy strikes, the crying comes, they fall in crying, anger. The world moves and everything goes towards God. Why did God allow this? But no one thinks about God when everything's fine, when He's calling them, when He's trying to call their attention. Even in the midst of problems, the person prefers to ignore Him. So pay attention to this complaint of God. He said, "Why, when I came, was there no man? I scheduled the appointment and you didn't show up." How many times God was waiting for you in His house and you didn't come? You were invited, you were called, but maybe you thought it was the pastor calling you. You thought it was the church calling you, but you gave an excuse. How many times you were called to pray and you said, "I'll pray along the way." You gave an excuse and you didn't make time to talk to God. How many times? Then you begin to understand why your prayers are not answered as well. Your requests, your desires, your expectations, you many times are ignored by God, not because He's taking revenge on you, but because of your own mistakes and transgressions, which is what is written here in this chapter. Later, if you have the interest in reading the whole chapter, you will see that God is saying, "I've never separated myself from you. I've never left you on the side. But your mistakes, your transgressions, what you occupied yourself with, that led you to feel like I had abandoned you. But in reality, you are the ones who abandoned me. I called you and you did not answer. I scheduled an appointment and you didn't come." Then I ask you, dear friends, if you don't like being done to you, why would you do it to God?
Did you like this? Would you like to hear it again? Listen to it as many times as you need until this content becomes part of you. Don't forget to leave your like, comment, and share. See you next time.